Couple tips for helping to prevent anterior knee pain and building strong bulletproof knees to help prevent knee pain from future workouts would be, my first tip is to work out barefoot. The reason being, the muscles in our feet are really going to help activate and help ensure that as we're performing specific exercises such as squats and lunges, the right things are working so that we're not getting pain throughout that knee joint. So working out barefoot, the big thing that I want to do is I want to have a big spread through my toes when I'm performing things like squats and lunges, and then from there I want to build up as much of an arch in my foot as possible. There's something that trainers like to call the triangle of the foot, where we have our heel, our big toe, and our little toe pressing down to help give as much support through the knee joint and the hip joint as well when performing exercises. Specific to the knee, so along with training barefoot, is really pushing that big toe down. By pushing that big toe down, you're gonna see I'm able to activate this muscle here, which we call VMO. VMO is responsible for helping to make sure that our patella tracks in a proper alignment and doesn't push out wide. If it's pushing out wide, then we're gonna start to feel some anterior knee pain. By having that VMO contracting and pushing through my big toe, I'm really gonna work to prevent that. So when I'm performing something like a lunge, let's say, and I'm lunging back, I'm pushing through that big toe, that VMO is trying to fire as best as it possibly can. Some of the more common tips would obviously be, as I'm lunging, to ensure that I'm coming back at a 90-degree angle. I also dig through that heel, another component of that foot triangle, to make sure my glute is activated. The stronger my glutes are, research has shown to reduce knee pain. So the more you can get those glutes to activate as you're lunging backwards, pushing through the big toe and the heel, the less you're going to feel throughout that knee. One of the other big common things that will help to cause knee pain, which we want to reduce, is really ensuring that we don't have any valgus coming through our knee as we're performing lunges. So if you don't have a natural arch in your foot, if your arch has collapsed, what's going to happen is my foot's going to push out to the side. As my foot's going to push out to the side, it's going to cause my knee to track inwards. So this is what we call a bit of a valgus through our knee, and then our hip will come like this. What we want to try and do is avoid that as much as possible. So you see the difference between this and this can be the difference between knee pain versus no knee pain. So my recommendation here, and with the last tip of maintaining that vertical shin, is to film yourself as you perform lunges and make sure that you have that vertical shin, but make sure there's no valgus whatsoever. Any type of valgus, even the slightest on the inside, will cause and contribute to knee pain. And then the last tip I have for you is any exercise, there's a tissue tolerance. As soon as force exceeds that tissue tolerance, that's where injury will occur. So that can happen from a big blow. Let's say I were to load up a back squat, a really heavy back squat, and I'm not prepared for it. I can get a knee injury from that. Probably less common, but the other thing where pain can arise is through repetitive loading. So what you have to do is find what that tissue tolerance is and then load it up enough so that your tissue will adapt to that tolerance, and then the tolerance becomes a little bit higher, then you load up. So your practical tip to take away from that is to be conscious of the amount of sets and reps you're using for things like squats and lunges. And if you have a program that says 4x10 for your lunges and then 4x10 for squats, and you perform that workout and then you find that it hurts a little bit, you might have to reduce that loading a little bit. So you might do a 3x8 and then the next week build up there to a 3x10 and see if that takes away some pain. You also want to, with that tissue tolerance, take into account some of the other activities that you're performing throughout the week. So things like running, things like cycling, anything that's going to load up that anterior component of the knee, you have to take into account with all of the other exercise that you're doing, and again, just what that tissue tolerance might be. So to recap, train barefoot, push strong through that big toe, make sure you get some activation in that VMO, activation in that glute. Every time you perform things like squats or lunges, you want to try and keep those knees not going past the toes. Lunges, I actually prefer to come back and again just have that vertical shin, and then really being conscious of that tissue tolerance. So tissue tolerance when it comes to the sets and reps, of the workout that you're doing and tissue tolerance when it comes to putting together a week's worth of workout and seeing what other activities you're including in your workouts with squats, lunges, etc. I hope this helps.